favor of the approach, but the approach is underway. Day one of the approach was pretty impressive. Good morning to you. Good. Wednesday morning, I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is the Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way. I'm laughing for a reason. Bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates, the other two teams in town that I cover. I hope you're going to check those out as well. Aaron Rodgers made his first real appearance, for all intents and purposes, with the Steelers, taking to the field as a semi-full participant, the opening day of mandatory minicamp. The reason I say semi-full is he wasn't in on team drills. Mike Tomlin would later explain that he'd rather have those snaps in June reserved for players in the Will Howard category. Howard needs those to be ready for training camp and for preseason games. Rodgers doesn't need them at all. But he did some stuff on the field. He threw some passes, ran through some drills, appeared to make some friends, both during and before the session, with Zach Frazier letting everybody know that Rodgers stood in the locker room in front of his teammates to tell them, and I'm quoting here from Frazier, Rodgers saying, "I'm all in." He wanted them to hear that. He also addressed the one question that's probably been the most prominent on the minds of Pittsburghers, the ones that I hear from, in explaining, in essence, why are you coming back to play? And within that, why are you coming back to play for the Steelers or in the city of Pittsburgh? To which Rodgers had what I thought was a fascinating answer.
I think that's what it is. Like, I don't need it for my ego. I don't need it to keep playing. A lot of decisions that I've made over my career and life from strictly the ego, even if they turn out well, are always unfulfilling. But the decisions made from the soul are usually pretty fulfilling. So this was a decision that was best for my soul. And I felt like being here with Coach T and the guys that got here, and the opportunity here was the best for me, and I'm excited to be here.
Now, on the list of possible explanations that you would have for any quarterback at any level on any subject, best for my soul probably wouldn't show up on too many. But regardless of what you think of Rodgers personally, the one area of universal agreement regarding Rodgers and who he is off the field is that he doesn't necessarily fall in line with the way everybody thinks. Short version, he thought about it. He talked to Mike Tomlin about it. He came to Pittsburgh. He left here completely uncommitted, per his own recollection. He talked to Tomlin some more. He talked to a couple of the players, DK Metcalf and Pat Freiermuth prominent among them, and he decided that he would become committed. And so that's this step. And this is what I was referring to on yesterday's episode before we even heard from him. And that's that the onus has to be on him. He is the one who has to show to his teammates, to his coaches, to the team's administrators and extended family, to the alumni, and you'd better believe to the fan base, that this is a serious venture for him. Now, the only perspective that I can offer you after day one is a day one perspective, okay? So you're just going to have to take it for what it's worth. I thought that Rodgers came away from this both looking and sounding good. From the looking standpoint, if he has any lingering health or age issues or whatever that wouldn't be understandable or accepted in advance, I didn't see them. Now, again, this is the day one perspective. I didn't see him lagging behind the other three quarterbacks in drills. I certainly didn't see any problems with the arm on the handful of times he was asked to utilize it. And I didn't see anything that intangibly looked like someone who's just getting tired of it. He looked like he was having fun at multiple different points through these 2 hours that he was out there with the team. He looked like he was having real, live football fun. Even on those couple of occasions that I noticed where he didn't understand what he was supposed to be doing on a drill or where he was supposed to be or where the ball was supposed to go, he'd be playful about it. He'd turn around and find somebody to kind of motion to, like, what am I supposed to be doing here or whatever. But it wasn't in some nasty way. He was just, this was where he wanted to be. Okay. This was where he wanted to be. I found that to be encouraging in a day one kind of way. All of that. Where will this go? What'll happen next? What could come along that would change it? No clue. I have none whatsoever. I have no insight into the future for you. But you want to know who expressed the healthiest possible perspective on that? Came right from Rodgers. He was asked about the fans and how long it's been around here since there's been a playoff win, and whether or not he's the guy to get the team over the hump. Rodgers' reply, and I quote directly, "We're in day one of minicamp for me. I'm just taking it one day at a time." Yep, it seems fair. When we come back, J1Q.
This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar.
Today's J1Q comes from David, who, in lieu of a question, shares something that, by the way, I had shared with me by several other readers, strikingly similar sentiments. So I thought David's thing would be possibly nice and representative for a lot of people. And for a little bit of context here, David has communicated with me before, and he was very much opposed to Aaron Rodgers being signed by the Steelers. So that's your context here. Quote, "We have to get past this for 1 year. It could be a complete bust, as the Jets experienced. It could also be that we'll see balls flying at Acrisure Stadium, the likes of which we haven't seen since prime Ben Roethlisberger. I am ignoring all of the soul talk and focusing on the gridiron. I hope he brings it, and I hope he makes those effing Ravens cry." As I'm often saying on this show, I don't advise people on how to feel about sportsy things. I share how I feel, but I don't ask and certainly don't expect anybody else to feel the same way. So I'm not about to say, "Hey, way to go, David, good for you," or whoever else might have felt one way one day, another way the next day. But I am going to guess from the timing of this feedback yesterday that there's a good many of you, especially around here in the immediate Pittsburgh area, where the Mason Rudolph thing or the anybody but Aaron Rodgers thing appeared to have held more sway than it did with the broader, more spread out fan base. Everyone's free to go at this however it is that they want and take however long it is that they please to get to wherever they want to be on it. Here's mine. And for those of you who are relatively new to my work or have just found out about daily shots of Steelers or Penguins or Pirates in the past few months, I'm not new. I've been covering Pittsburgh sports my whole life. I appreciate having you here and listening to the podcasts and checking out the videos, but I'm a writer. I've been a writer my whole life, and I've been covering this city's major league teams in various forms since 1997. And my methodology for doing that, notably since I became a columnist, which takes the reporting that you do and funnels it through the prism of ideally informed opinion. In other words, you find out a lot of stuff, then you think some stuff about that stuff that you found out, and you put that out there. It's opinion, but the premise of it is that you're supposed to be having an opinion based on real substance. Real substance comes from reporting. As I opened today's episode, I repeated for maybe the millionth time that I have had a certain stance on this subject. I continue to have that stance. I'm not a believer that you flip stances or change stances based on, "Hey, everybody get in line," or "It's time to get on board." That has absolutely nothing to do with what I do for a living. However, there's a context to all of this where I'm going to go and I'm going to watch and I'm going to talk and I'm going to listen. And then you know what else? I'm going to listen a whole lot more. And the more days that I experience, like yesterday, like day one of minicamp, one day, the more of those that accumulate, the more information I'll have. The more information I have, the more it'll influence the broader stance. To repeat this from today's intro, this is the direction that they went. It doesn't mean that it's the right direction. It doesn't mean that they're going to be proven right. It also doesn't mean that they're wrong. Let's see how day 2 plays out, and then day 3, and then Latrobe, and then the preseason and everything else. They can't know, so how could any of us? I appreciate the note, David. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. Don't forget, we have a double shot of Steelers coming your way today at 4 p.m. Eastern, both on our YouTube channel and, of course, on our app and website, our own app and website, DK Pittsburgh Sports. Hope to see you then.